Hello students, I am Soumya Sahu, lecturer in Civil Engineering at SKDB Government Polytechnic Rourkela. In this video lecture is prepared for the third semester Diploma Civil Engineering students. The subject Building Material and Construction Technology, though simple, proves to be very difficult for some students as it is descriptive in nature. So, I would like to discuss the topics of the subject in a very simple manner so that you would find the topics of the subject to be
Bricks have been used all over the world in every class and kind of building. The standard size of a brick is 190 by 90 by 90 mm, and the modular size of a brick is 200 by 100 by 100 mm. Modular size of brick means brick with mortar, and standard size of brick means brick without mortar. I would like to discuss some of the technical terms related to bricks. So the first one is frog. Frog is a depression provided on the top of the brick which is of 1 to 2 cm deep, and it is provided to hold the mortar. And this portion is known as the header. Header is the shorter square face of the brick which measures 9 cm by 9 cm, and this is known as stretcher. Then let's discuss the characteristics of a good brick. A good brick should have sharp edges, and the brick shall not break into pieces when dropped from a height about 1 meter. So if you are dropping a brick from a height about 1 meter and it is breaking into pieces, that means it's not a good brick. Then the brick shall have low thermal conductivity. It should be soundproof. The bricks, when broken, shall show a homogeneous, uniform, compact structure, and it should be free from voids. And when the brick is soaked in water for 24 hours, the brick shall not show the deposit of white salt when allowed to dry, and the brick shall not have crushing strength less than 55 kg per centimeter square. Constituents of good brick are: the bricks are the most commonly used construction material, and bricks are prepared by molding clay in rectangular blocks of uniform size and then drying and burning these blocks. In order to get a good quality brick, the brick earth should contain the following constituents. These are silica, alumina, lime, iron oxide, and magnesium. In order to produce a good quality of brick, the brick earth should contain 50 to 60% of silica, and silica is responsible for preventing cracking, shrinking, and wrapping of raw bricks. It also affects the durability of bricks, and if present in excess, then it destroys the cohesion between particles and the brick becomes brittle. A good brick earth should contain alumina about 20 to 30%, and it imparts plasticity to brick earth, and it is important in molding operation. If alumina is present in excess, then with inadequate quantity of sand, the raw bricks shrink and wrap during drying and burning, and the brick becomes too hard when burned. The next component is lime. The percentage of lime should be within the range of 5 to 10%, and it prevents the shrinkage of bricks on drying. It causes silica in clay to melt on burning and thus helps to bind it. Excess of lime causes brick to melt and brick loses its shape. The next component is iron oxide. A good brick earth should contain iron oxide within the range of 5 to 7%. It gives red color to the brick and it improves impermeability and durability. It gives strength and hardness. If present in excess, then the color of the brick becomes dark blue or blackish. And if the quantity of iron oxide is less, then the brick becomes yellowish in color. Then the next important component is magnesia. It is present in the brick earth in a very negligible amount, around 1%. And magnesia in brick imparts yellowish tint to the brick, and it is responsible for reducing shrinkage. And excess of magnesia leads to decay of bricks. Silica, alumina, lime, iron oxide and magnesia are the useful components of brick earth. Now we shall discuss about the harmful ingredients present in brick earth. So the first harmful component is lime. A small quantity of lime is required in brick earth, that is fine, but if it is present in excess, it causes the brick to melt and hence the brick loses its shape. So if the lime is present in the form of lumps, then it is converted into quicklime after burning. And this quicklime slakes and expands in the presence of moisture and it causes splitting of bricks into pieces. The next harmful ingredient is iron pyrite. Iron pyrite, if present in brick earth, it causes the brick to get crystallized and disintegrated during burning. And because of the oxidation of iron pyrites, this crystallization and disintegration occurs during burning. The pyrite discolorize the bricks. The next harmful component is alkali. If alkali exists in brick earth, then it produces efflorescence. Here I have shown a figure which is showing a brick wall which is affected with efflorescence. Efflorescence means the whitish patch present on the brick caused due to some insoluble salts. So alkalis exist in brick earth in the form of soda and potash, and it acts as a flux in the kiln during burning process, and it causes the brick to fuse, twist and wrap, and because of which the bricks are melted and they lose their shape. The alkalis remaining in the bricks will absorb the moisture from the atmosphere, and with the passage of time, this moisture gets evaporated, leaving grayish or whitish patches or deposits on the wall surface known as the efflorescence. The next harmful component is pebble. Pebble, stone or brick pebbles in brick earth create problem during mixing operation of the earth. It prevents the uniform mixing of clay and which results in weak and porous bricks manufacturing. The next harmful component is the presence of vegetation and organic matter. If vegetation or organic matter is present in brick earth, then it assists in burning. But if such matter is not completely burnt, then the bricks become porous. This is due to the fact that the gases will be evolved during the burning of carbonaceous matter. It will result in formation of small pores. Hence, it is necessary to see that all these gases are removed during the process of burning for getting the bricks of good quality. The next we will discuss about the manufacturing process of bricks. The manufacturing process of bricks involves certain steps. These are preparation of clay, molding, drying, and burning. In order to manufacture bricks, first a site is to be selected. So there involves certain steps in selection of site for manufacture of bricks. It should be linked up with a communicating road so that the materials can be conveyed easily. and the site should be situated on a plain ground. The site should be selected so that the earth of manufacturing good quality brick is readily and easily available, and the site should offer all the facilities to the workers who are employed in the manufacturing process. Preparation of clay for brick manufacturing involves certain operations, and these are unsoiling, digging, cleaning, weathering, blending, and tempering. So what is unsoiling? The top layer of soil about 200 mm in deep is taken out and thrown away. The clay in the top soil is full of impurities, and this is exactly why the top layer of soil is rejected for the purpose of manufacturing of bricks. Then the next operation is digging. The clay is then dug out of the ground and it is spread on the level ground. Then the next operation is cleaning. After digging operation, the clay is then cleaned of stones, pebbles, vegetable matters, if such matters are present in the clay. Then the next step is weathering. After cleaning, the clay is then exposed to atmosphere for softening. And this weathering operation is usually done during the monsoon season. Then the next operation is blending. Blending indicates intimate or harmonious mixing. It is carried out by taking small portion of clay every time and then turning it up and down in vertical direction. Then the next step is tempering. Tempering is done to obtain homogeneous mass of clay of uniform character. In tempering operation, water is required and water is added to the clay, and then the whole clay mass is kneaded. It is kneaded either with the feet of men or with cattle. Usually, for manufacturing of bricks on large scale, tempering is generally done in pug mill. Here I have shared a picture showing pug mill and its different parts. The pug mill consists of a conical iron tub with cover at its top, and it is fixed on a timber base. It is the timber base. The small wedge-shaped knives of steel are fixed on horizontal arms. These are the knives, and this is the horizontal arm. This is the vertical shaft to which the horizontal arms are fixed. This is the ground level. And after tempering work, the preparation of clay for brick manufacturing is over. After preparation of clay, the next process is molding. In the molding process, the prepared clay is molded into rectangular shapes, and it is of two types. One is hand molding and another one is machine molding. In hand molding, the bricks are molded by hand or manually. It is adopted where manpower is cheap and it is readily available. And hand molding is especially recommended when bricks are manufactured on a small scale. It is again of two types. One is ground molded bricks, another one is table molded bricks. Machine molding is achieved by machines. It proves to be economical when bricks in huge quantity are to be manufactured. After molding, the next operation is drying of raw bricks. The damp bricks, if burnt, are likely to be cracked and distorted. Hence, the molded bricks are dried before they are taken for the next operation of burning. For drying, the bricks are laid longitudinally in stacks of width equal to 2 bricks, and a stack consists of 8 to 10 tiers. The bricks are laid along and across the stack in alternative layers, and all the bricks are placed on the edge. The next operation is the burning of bricks. In the process of burning, the dried bricks are burned either in clamps or in kilns up to certain degree of temperature, and in this stage the bricks will gain hardness and strength. So the temperature required for burning is about 1100 degrees Celsius. If they burn beyond this limit, they will be brittle and it will be easy to break. Hence, the burning should be done properly to meet the requirements of good brick. I have shared two figures. The first one is Bulstrenge kiln and the second one is Hoffman's kiln. The burning capacity of a Bulstrenge kiln is about 3 lakhs in 12 days, whereas for Hoffman's kiln it is 40 lakhs in one season. And the cost of fuel is high in Bulstrenge kiln and it is low in Hoffman's kiln. The drying space requirement is more for Bulstrenge kiln and it is less for Hoffman's kiln. The initial cost is low for Bulstrenge kiln and it is high for Hoffman's kiln. And most popularly Bulstrenge kiln is used. Students, I am sharing a video showing the functioning of Bulstrenge kiln.
बुलस्ट्रेंच किल्न में पकाई के लिए कच्ची ईंटें बाहरी दीवार और भट्टे की अंदरूनी दीवार के मध्य बनी घाटी में सजाई जाती हैं। इस भट्टे में आग भट्टे का चक्कर लगाती है, जबकि ईंटें अपने स्थान पर ही रहती हैं। भट्टे के मध्य में बनी चिमनी भट्टे का प्रमुख अंग है, क्योंकि इस चिमनी के कारण ही भट्टे में कोयले को जलने और आग को बढ़ने के लिए हवा मिलती है। ये चिमनी भट्टे की घाटी से नालियों द्वारा जुड़ी होती है। चिमनी के दोनों तरफ दो मुख्य नालियां होती हैं, जो कई छोटी नालियों द्वारा भट्टे की घाटी से जुड़ी होती हैं। भट्टे में ईंटें पायों में सजाई जाती हैं। एक चलते हुए बीटी के भट्टे को 3 भागों में बांटा जा सकता है। कूलिंग जोन, जिसमें पकी हुई ईंटों को ठंडा किया जाता है। कंबस्टन एंड फायरिंग जोन, जिसमें कोयले को झोंका और जलाया जाता है तथा ईंटों की पकाई होती है। तीसरा हिस्सा प्री हीटिंग जोन कहलाता है, जिसमें कच्ची ईंटों को गर्म किया जाता है तथा उनकी नमी को सुखाया जाता है। भट्टे के ऊपरी भाग को राविश की एक मोटी परत से ढका जाता है। ये राविश भट्टे को लीक प्रूफ बनाती है तथा भट्टे की ऊपरी सतह से होने वाली ऊर्जा हानि को रोकने का काम करती है। भराई के अंत में लगा तिरपाल भट्टे के प्री हीटिंग जोन में ठंडी हवा के अनावश्यक प्रवेश को रोकता है। भट्टे में कोयले की झुकाई चम्मच द्वारा भट्टे की छत पर बने कोल फीडिंग होल्स से की जाती है। ये कोयला भट्टे में ईंटों की भराई करते वक्त बनाई गई झोंकों या पॉकेटों पर गिरता हुआ भट्टे की तली तक काफी मात्रा में पहुंच जाता है। तली पर पहुंचने वाले कोयले की मात्रा कोयले की झुकाई के ढंग पर निर्भर करती है। अगर बड़े साइज का कोयला झोंका जाता है या ज्यादा मात्रा में एक साथ कोयले की झुकाई होती है, तब तली पर कोयले की एक मोटी तह बन जाती है। भट्टे में ठंडी हवा निकासी वाले क्षेत्र से प्रवेश करती है। ये ठंडी हवा तली के करीब चलती है तथा पकी हुई गर्म ईंटों से गर्मी लेती हुई कंबस्टन जोन में प्रवेश करती है। जैसे जैसे ये हवा गर्म होती है, ये ऊपर की ओर उठती है तथा जब ये भट्टे के सबसे गर्म भाग यानी कोल फायरिंग जोन में पहुंचती है, तब ज्यादातर हवा भट्टे के ऊपरी भाग में चल रही होती है। कंबस्टन जोन से निकलकर ये गर्म हवा प्री हीटिंग जोन में अपनी गर्मी कच्ची ईंटों को देती हुई भट्टे की तली के करीब बने हुए निकासों से नालियों में प्रवेश कर चिमनी के द्वारा बाहर निकलती है। भट्टे में चिमनी एक पंप का काम करती है, ये बाहर से ठंडी हवा को भट्टे में प्रवेश कराती है तथा गर्म हवा का निकास करती है। चिमनी की खिंचान क्षमता चिमनी में गर्म गैसों के तापमान और बाहरी वातावरण के तापमान के अंतर पर निर्भर करती है। सामान्यतः चिमनी में गर्म गैसों का तापमान 80 से 120 डिग्री सेल्सियस होता है। जैसा हमने पहले देखा कि काफी बड़ी मात्रा में कोयला तली पर जा गिरता है, जबकि इस क्षेत्र में ज्यादातर गर्म हवा भट्टे के ऊपरी भाग में बह रही है। कोयले को जलने के लिए ऑक्सीजन यानी हवा की जरूरत होती है, जो तली पर पड़े कोयले को पूरी तरह नहीं मिल पाती। इस कारण तली पर पड़ा कोयला पूरी तरह से जल नहीं पाता। ठीक तरह से न जलने के कारण ये काली प्रदूषित गैसों को जन्म देता है और काफी बड़ी मात्रा में अधजला कोयला भट्टे की तली में पड़ा रह जाता है। ईंटों में जलाई से संबंधित प्रमुख समस्याओं में पहली समस्या कोयले की अधिक खपत और कोयले की कीमत में बेतहाशा तेजी है। सन 2000 के मुकाबले आज कोयले की कीमत 2-3 गुना बढ़ गई है। दूसरी प्रमुख समस्या ठीक जलाई न होने के कारण ईंटों की क्वालिटी में असमानता, खासतौर से अव्वल दर्जे की ईंटों का प्रतिशत कम होना है। तीसरी प्रमुख समस्या वायु प्रदूषण की है, जो न केवल भट्टे पर काम करने वाले मजदूरों बल्कि आसपास के बगीचों के पेड़ों और खेतों की फसलों को भी नुकसान पहुंचाता है।
Next, we shall discuss about the classification of bricks. Bricks are classified into 4 categories: first class brick, second class brick, third class brick, and fourth class brick. First class bricks are table molded bricks. The surface and edges are sharp, square, smooth, and straight, well burnt, and have uniform texture, metallic ringing when struck against each other, and these are used for superior work. Second class bricks, these are ground molded bricks, and the surface are rough. The quality of bricks are inferior as compared to the first class brick. Third class bricks, the surface and edges are rough and it does not create any metallic sound, and these are used for temporary and unimportant structure construction. Fourth class bricks, these bricks are overburnt and these are irregular and dark color, and these are used in floor, foundation, and road construction. Next, we shall discuss some of the probable questions from this topic. From 2 marks, you may get questions like: state the harmful ingredients present in brick art, state the standard size of brick, state 2 ways of molding a brick. For long question answers type question, you may get questions like: state and explain the operations involved in preparation of brick, sketch a pug mill, sketch a bull's trench clean, and Hoffman's clean. So thank you, students. If you have got any doubts, you can ask me.